This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. CNN did an interview, or posted an interview on their show last night with Denver Riggleman, a former United States Congressman, former member of the Freedom Caucus, which is the most extreme, radical caucus within the Congress among Republicans. And he was brought on board as a staffer to the January 6th committee, not only because of his understanding of the political optics of the particular committee and the inner workings of Congress, but also because of his intelligence background in the United States military. And in this, I believe for the first time that has been publicly reported, he talks about a moment after Donald Trump sent his little video out telling them that to go home, that you're special, we love you, I know you're hurting, this was robbed from us, all of that you'll remember during the day of the insurrection. After that, a phone call was placed from the White House through the White House switchboard to someone at the Capitol, an insurrectionist from the White House, someone with access to the White House switchboard. And I'm going to play this clip of him talking about it, and then I'm going to read from a CNN article because they know who that call was placed to. We don't know still from whom it was placed. That's the more important aspect. But we do know to whom it was placed. Here's 60 Minutes and Denver Riggleman talking about this moment. Watch this.
Did it hit you at one point that this is way bigger than it appeared in the beginning?
Absolutely. Do you get a real aha moment when you see that the White House switchboard had connected to a rioter's phone while it's happening? That's a pretty big aha moment. You get an aha.
Wait a minute. Someone in the White House was calling one of the rioters while the riot was going on?
On January 6th, absolutely.
And you know who both ends of that call?
I only know one end of that call. I don't know the White House end, which I believe is more important. But the thing is, the American people need to know that there are link connections that need to be explored more.
As senior technical advisor for the January 6th committee, Denver Riggleman, a former House Republican and ex-military intelligence officer, ran a data-driven operation pursuing phone records and other digital clues tied to the attack on the Capitol.
From my perspective, being in counterterrorism, if the White House, even if it's a short call and it's a connected call, who is actually making that phone call?
Is there a simple, innocent explanation for that?
Was it an accidental call from the White House that just happened to call numbers that somebody misdialed a rioter that day on January 6th? Probably not.
Important stuff. Also, it should tell you that there's a lot more that has not been yet made public from the committee. Now, there's a lot of people who are unhappy. He's writing a book. It's called Breach, I believe. And he is getting ahead of this last public hearing coming out this week on Wednesday from the January 6th committee to promote his book, talking about this particular moment. Let's keep in mind, Riggleman left the committee in April, way back in April. So a lot of the information that has come to light through their investigation, he's not privy to at all. But this particular moment is important because it shows collaboration. It shows coordination. It shows that there was someone in the White House who entered into a criminal conspiracy to be in contact with what was taking place on the Capitol Hill. What was taking place? The insurrection, the attempted overthrow of the United States government by way of overturning a free and fair election. They attacked the United States in a failed coup attempt to try to get their guy, Donald Trump, reinstated extra-constitutionally to the White House. Now, I'm going to read from the CNN article, very briefly, that talks about who the person is that was called. I'll tell you now, spoiler alert, this leaves more questions unanswered than answered. The CNN article, if you want to read it, will be in the description below. The mysterious 9-second call from the White House to a January 6th rioter. CNN reveals the rioter's identity for the first time. At 4:34 p.m. on January 6, 2021, a cell phone registered to a Capitol rioter who had stormed the building received a phone call from a White House landline, according to records obtained by CNN. The call lasted for only 9 seconds. Who placed the call and why remains a mystery, but it is notable as the only known call made from the White House to the phone of a rioter during this critical time period. According to the records, the call came from 202-456-1414, the publicly available number for the White House. Like many businesses, outgoing calls from the White House do not show a specific extension. The call was placed in the late afternoon shortly after former ex-President Donald Trump posted a video message on social media telling the rioters at the Capitol to go home. We love you. You're very special at 4:17 p.m. CNN first learned about the call earlier this year and is revealing the rioters' identity for the first time. And here we go with the rioters' identity. And I've got photos here. The cell phone belonged to a 26-year-old Trump supporter from Brooklyn, New York, named Anton Lunyik, who traveled to Washington, D.C. the night before January 6th with 2 friends, Francis Connor and Antonio Ferrigno, according to multiple sources familiar with the investigation, as well as a search of public records. The 3 men attended the Stop the Steal rally on the Ellipse and then, along with hundreds of others, entered and illegally demonstrated inside the Capitol, a charge they pleaded guilty to in April and were sentenced for earlier this month. Attorneys for all 3 men declined to comment to CNN. 2 more paragraphs here. According to multiple sources familiar with the investigation, Lunyik says he doesn't remember receiving the 9-second call and claims he doesn't know anyone who worked in the Trump White House. Now, there's one more paragraph that really is my critique and criticism of the new Fox News leaning CNN. But of course, Lunyik is going to say, I don't know anybody in the White House. I don't even remember a 9-second phone call from 202-546-1414. I don't remember the White House calling me. How convenient. How interesting. And then this little gem from the new CNN. It's unclear what, if any, connection exists between the White House and the rioter, including whether the call was made by mistake or whether the call went to voicemail. Made by mistake, CNN? You think of all the phone numbers that could have been dialed in that moment while the rioters were still there taking part in their insurrection. You think that of all those numbers, what a coincidence, just a coincidence that it could have been that they called someone from the White House who was in the Capitol that day, attempting to overthrow the United States government. Get out of here. It strains credulity. It strains logic and reason to post that, to write those words and let that dangle out there as a possibility. Come on. And whether the call went to voicemail, well, that is immaterial. The important thing here is that someone in the White House called an insurrectionist, gave a brief, either 9-second voicemail, or contacted them. Maybe they left a landline number or a cell phone number to call back. Who knows? But this is important information. One, because it does tell us that there's all kinds of information under the surface that has not been yet made public that we need to know. That there's all kinds of information that may never become public until trials take place, when the DOJ brings charges against individuals who were in the White House orbit or in the White House itself. All of this is critically important to the case against Donald Trump and his underlings that orbit his giant pumpkin head, to bring consequence and justice to the United States and us, because after all, they attempted to disenfranchise you if you voted for Joe Biden. If you are some of the 81 plus million individuals in this country who voted for Joe Biden, your vote was attempted to be stripped away by these insurrectionists, by these Donald Trump bootlicking sycophants. And I will not stand for being disenfranchised. Nor should you. I'd love to know what you think. Call me. Leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you on social media. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I am @Dollemore. That is often a mediocre time can be had. And if you want to support my work, if you appreciate me, if I am your flavor of political commentator, click the join button below, become a channel member for $1.99 a month, or go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. Anyway, I love you guys. I'll see you next time. Until I do, be genuine. Take care of one another.